Your person needs your consistency, not your convincing or excuses. So you are now choosing not to let circumstances choose your reality for you. Hello guys, welcome back to another video talking about your specific person and what's really going on, what they're going to be feeling, what is, the most important step of letting go of the old circumstances, not checking up, not trying to see what has changed in your reality, what is showing up, basically, not checking for updates, and what the impact of that is really going to be. It's fascinating. There's so many shifts that happen along the way when manifesting a relationship. So this is a really fascinating topic to get deeper into. So do keep watching. And now let's start the video. Your specific person or the person that you want to be with, or manifesting romantic relationships and better dating experiences, whatever it may be in this context, your person will not need convincing. It's the consistency that you put in with your own mindset that is going to be creating shifts. So remember, you're not trying to force an outcome or redirect a conversation or situation in a certain direction, say, well, X happened, so what do I do now to get from point A to point B because of X situation? You just need your own consistency, your own mindset. That is what is going to shape the outcome that you want. You need to stay rooted and stay create stability in feeling chosen and coming from this mindset of, I've already been chosen by SP. I'm not rejected. I'm not single. I'm not, not identifying with that old version. Maybe you can say, it's the current version, but what is the near future version? That's who you embody in the present moment. So staying rooted, creating roots that connect you to feeling chosen. And you don't have to necessarily have the connection, the emotional connection. I'm saying like embodying it, mentally thinking, just kind of thinking as if you're already chosen. You don't have to obviously believe it right now, because that is what really shapes and changes the way that you're going to mentally embody and mentally experience the relationship. Even if you're kind of starting from the, fresh, brand new starting point, you don't have any relationship with your specific person right now, it's brand new, it's going to change what you mentally embody, mentally experience, and what your mind accepts. If you keep teaching your mind and saying, I'm chosen, I feel secure in this relationship, I'm so glad that SP constantly wants to take me on dates. If you think that way and have that kind of mental state, that's you mentally identifying and choosing, that's who I am now. Constantly checking for updates, checking the 3D, checking what your SP is saying and doing, keeps replaying that old version of reality and keeps that in place as your reality, as the truth, because that's what you keep reminding yourself of, you keep focusing on, and you're saying, well, this is my current reality, so let me check and see if that has changed yet. That's what you're telling your mind. Those are the habits you're maintaining. It's really just going to create instability, this very unstable mindset by constantly going back and forth. You're kind of flitting between the old story, the new story, saying, okay, well, I'm doing my affirmations, I'm applying the manifestation practices, but I need to check the 3D. Let me refresh our conversation again. Let me replay our last conversation in my mind, constantly going back and forth and not. It's okay for it to come up. That's where you apply your mental diet. That's what a mental diet is for, to turn it back around into, a positive that aligns with what you want to manifest. But this constant consciously going back and forth, bad habits of checking for updates, checking their social media, there's so many different examples of what it could really be. That's showing your mind that you're wavering, you're not fully aligned with and thinking from, and consciously, where you can, creating habits, building habits, thought patterns, automated thoughts and reactions in your mind by staying in the new story, by waking up and saying your affirmation, or, waking up, doing a short visualization, or saying, oh, I love my relationship with SP. You don't need to feel it. You don't need to believe it. You're training yourself throughout the day and doing your affirmations and then applying your mental diet, just really thinking from that version. If you can maintain that, then any lack of contact, any no contact, even wavering or hot and cold from your SP, where you feel like maybe you're getting your own mixed signals, it feels like there is definitely a 3D time delay, a time lag. That is not going to have the same meaning to you. It's not going to be triggering. It's not going to have, you know, significance to you. You're going to be able to kind of just going to be like water sliding away. It really, you know, doesn't stick at all. You're just not going to waver as much. So if you can maintain that consistency and understand you're building up and shaping your own beliefs, you're not going to mentally hold on after doing that to things like no contact and the hot and cold behavior and things. Yes, it might be disappointing, you might mentally react and, you know, acknowledge it, but it's not going to have this like crazy significance to you. So the goal is to continue consciously bringing your thoughts back to already being together or already having consistent contact, having dates, having them pursue you, whatever it may be. You keep bringing yourself back to what it is that you want to experience. As long as you're clear on that, you have clarity and understanding and self-awareness, you're good to go. So stop reminding yourself or asking yourself, why won't this work for me? Why doesn't it work for me? You know, it feels unrealistic because of this reason. And start telling yourself, this relationship is so realistic. This is such a possibility for me. Very realistic, very normal. It's entirely, you know, within my expectations to get a text from SP any second now. Start building that kind of mindset. If you want extra support with your manifestation, there is still time this month to join our exclusive LOA Coaching Darlings membership, so you can submit your questions for the Q&A, where I create a video exclusive to members and answer all your manifesting questions. The brain also works in a really interesting way where I guess it's like, yeah, cognitive bias, essentially, where anything that already supports an existing assumption, existing belief, is just going to be reinforced. It's going to take in, not question, realize, and, you know, kind of, yeah, absorb and assign the same meaning to what you see. If you already think, SP doesn't contact me, then you're going to keep recognizing and acknowledging, your brain will, you know, the lack of messages, lack of contact with them, or not waking up to no notifications. That's going to be your expectation because it already aligns with an assumption that you have that you're not in this relationship and your SP isn't behaving the way you'd ideally want. So to change and build up new beliefs or change existing beliefs, it's that consistency that really comes in. The more you start to build that up and erase the negative old ones by replacing it with so much saturation, repetition, regular focus on the version that you want, the relationship that you want, you will start to recognize and think from that version. So if you don't want to keep seeing evidence of, you know, silence, ghosting, no contact, or, you know, just anything negative, I don't want to, you know, give an exhaustive list, but the more attention you've put to that, the more examples your brain will see of that and recognize and focus on. So finding evidence in a natural, conscious way in the moment, almost like in an automated way where you're not making the decision to recognize something, it just comes up. You think that way and you find and think of examples, even logical examples of why the relationship is working or realistic. When you put your attention on being chosen, being in a relationship, having everything work out, having the best relationship experience, dating experiences to focus on, and just assume that's what you have, your attention will naturally start going to examples that reinforce that. So your mental diet, kind of redirecting your attention and your focus onto the new story, the relationship with your SP that you want, isn't just about changing your thoughts or having these repetitive statements over and over in your mind, but actually how your brain will interpret things. Like I said, the cognitive bias example, but literally how you will find yourself starting to think, looping on an automated cycle. Your affirmations, trust me, I can attest to this. When I get into a habit of, you know, when I'm doing tasks at home, just looping my affirmations, it's almost like second nature to me. So how you will react to and interpret situations is very much tied to those mental practices that you're building up now. So the goal that you're really focusing on and that you want to keep building on and strengthening is not pretending or living in this delulu world where you're literally acting as if those circumstances don't exist and that if you recognize them or you registered them at all, that's the problem. It's your dominant focus, how you think, that you're not constantly bringing up, you know, a negative situation. It's okay for you to have recognized, okay, that happened, but then going forward, you focus on what it is you want. So you will have probably, or up until now, been experiencing this hot and cold push and pull cycle with your specific person. Again, not seeing the behavior reflected that you quite want, but you will find a much more pleasant, calm dynamic. So again, different for everyone depending on where you're at, whether you currently have regular contact or you're waiting to rebuild that contact, whatever it may be, you're going to find it's just more pleasant, whether it's your own mental experience or the actual interactions you have with your specific person when you stop checking. Your own mental resistance will lower because the way you filter and view and your perspective on the relationship and any situations or circumstances surrounding it will not be completely tied to needing reassurance, validation, or being completely uncertain. This level of uncertainty where maybe you're seeking or waiting for reassurance and validation. It's not all about what SP says or does, because you're taking back control, you're recognizing the power of your own mindset, so that mental resistance itself gets lowered. And what they experience is most likely going to be thinking of you more often, or thinking thoughts that bring you both closer, almost like a bridge of events, steps leading into it. If perhaps, like I said, you don't already have an existing relationship, or maybe you're open to someone brand new, they will just think thoughts that are either about you or align with this relationship building, more emotionally powerful, emotionally significant thoughts that are just positive and aligned with what it is you want, whether it is just a text message, building up communication, or literally going straight to the end of marriage. And if you have memories together, experiences in the past together, maybe it was a past relationship, that is relatively common as well, especially with my own clients. What will happen? You will find out eventually, I guess, but their memories of you might get reshaped, right? So it's almost like revision, where they don't replay or remember or think of a negative memory or argument in the same light. Their memories now have a very different emotional tone associated with them. They will kind of reinterpret things, or maybe not view that fight as so bad, or the lack of contact as some kind of significant issue. I've heard my own clients come back to me sometimes and say, SP has changed, like the behavior, the dynamic between us has just changed after it was already in a negative point. They will just kind of reinterpret things in their own way. So they might also find that they are drawn to you, which is of course a natural part of it, of leading you guys together, where they feel more curious, and they just, the way they mentally frame the relationship, the dynamic will be different. Just finding and experiencing this state of just being drawn to you. And you both might be experiencing this state of feeling closer or feeling like mentally drawn together, just having this connection or having the same type of thoughts or memories about each other, despite the 3D not shifting. There doesn't need to be a significant change in your 3D for this to be the case. And that is all tied to the old version no longer being reinforced or your dominant focus. So yes, in theory, it can be for them as well, but with you being the person manifesting your desired relationship, it's not that you and another person are both actively focusing on a very specific outcome. You're deciding, I want this happy, healthy relationship, I want commitment, whatever your relationship goals are right now. The old version isn't being reinforced anymore. Their behavior will be a reflection of where your dominant focus goes. As I gave you guys one of the key phrases as an example of being chosen, of feeling chosen, mentally embodying that, just thinking to yourself as if you are already there, that's what the behavior and the dynamic will start to reflect, that you are chosen, that you are the prize. So your focus should be to stop having a dominant focus and mentally focusing on interacting with and remembering your SP as a version who was unavailable or inconsistent with you or inconsiderate with you. That is not the version you want to hold on to, unless that's what you want to recreate. That is the goal to remember. Start assuming and telling yourself that the version you experience, the version of your SP that you have now, is the one who is open, consistent, and committed. So instead of trying to judge and analyze what you think is currently being reflected or what has been reflected up until now, because that's even more irrelevant than, something that's playing out in front of you right now, don't try and measure that or analyze or quantify their level of interest or commitment or how much they value you. You decide that. You tell yourself, well, we have a great relationship. I just assume I'm in a happy, committed relationship. These are my assumptions. You teach yourself that. So instead of asking, well, are they conforming? What's really happening with the manifestation? Start putting the focus back on your own thoughts and say, what am I actually assuming about them? Likewise, instead of looking at your phone and having that automated thought of, why aren't they texting me? You say, nope, communication is so healthy between us. We have the best communication. We have the most fun text messages, the best conversations. Like we both just look forward to it every day. Start talking to yourself in that way. And then instead of interpreting a negative situation or lack of contact or lack of visible progress between you and starting to judge that, create a new assumption. Build on the assumption that your affirmations are already creating instead of creating a brand new problem that doesn't need to be there. Instead of trying to create brand new affirmations or changes every single day just because of a circumstance or something slightly unfavorable, keep your attention, keep your focus on repetition of your affirmations, repetition of the end goal, not checking and analyzing and thinking, well, this came up on social media, or this might be the case, or let me check up for this. That is not a stable mindset. So do your best to detach mentally from the old version of the relationship, the old dynamic, the old issues. You may have experienced any form of self-doubt or self-concept issues that tie into dating as well, and start deciding, this is the version of the relationship I want. This is where mentally I'm going to be living from now on. You keep showing up internally through your thoughts, your inner conversations as that version, and just allow the 3D to catch up to reflect that.